Dunia sekarang sudah mulai bergerak ke kendaraan listrik dan hal ini tentunya merangsang munculnya bisnis-bisnis baru. Berbagai merek motor dan mobil bermunculan termasuk juga electric bike atau yang kita kenal dengan sepeda listrik. Vintage Electric, merek asal California, bisa dibilang unik karena mereka menawarkan produk sepeda elektrik dengan desain motor vintage dan tentunya produk ini menyasar ke segmen hobiis yang sangat spesifik. Vintage Electric ini juga sudah masuk ke pasar Indonesia sejak beberapa tahun lalu dan hari ini kita akan berkesempatan untuk ngobrol dengan CEO Vintage Electric, Davidge. Thank you for having time for meeting us on your busy schedule.
Of course.
Yes, okay. I heard that Vintage Electric is a passion that turned into business, right? Is
Exactly.
that correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell me how did it start?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up racing bikes, loving cars, motorcycles, anything with wheels that really goes fast.
Yeah.
And I built one for myself. And the first time I rode it, it was just...
What was it?
This was in 2012, 2013.
Okay.
And the first time I rode that bike, it was the first time in a long time that I'd ridden a vehicle that just felt completely different to anything else.
With the current Vintage Electric bike.
Yeah, the first bike we ever built.
Okay.
They're obviously a lot better now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we rode that first bike, and I just thought, wow, we really have something here.
Okay.
And people kept stopping me on the streets and saying, where do I get one?
Oh, you catch the attention.
Yeah. People would
Okay.
stop me and say, where do I get one of those? And I'd say, well, I just built it for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we got enough of initial orders, the first few orders, to build 2 production prototypes.
How many orders?
We got like 10 or 15.
Whoa.
Just from riding it around, up at the racetrack, around the neighborhood.
That's quite a number.
Yeah, it was a good number.
Yeah, it's a good number.
And then so we built 2 prototypes, and I was invited to an event in Monterey in California. They do a big concourse car week.
Yeah.
And there was a Wednesday night Jet Center party. I was invited to it. They let me put both my bikes on the red carpet as everyone was flying in their private jets.
Okay.
And I sat there with my bad-fitting suit, and people kept wanting to buy them. So I downloaded the app, started swiping credit cards, and sold like 30, 40 bikes that night.
Okay.
And then that's really how the company
That's
started.
a really good start.
Yeah.
How old are you back then?
I was like 20, 21.
That's a good start for the 20 around.
It was a good start.
Yeah.
I thought all my dreams had come true. I didn't realize all the hard work that was going to follow. But
Okay. I watched some of the interview that you mentioned that you went to a design school for a vehicle.
well,
How is
I
it?
was supposed to,
Okay.
and then I dropped out, so I didn't end up going. I started the company instead.
I think that's a pretty fair options for you.
Yeah, it was good.
Because when you see the business goes up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a fun ride.
Yeah, I wonder how does your first e-bike looks like?
Very,
catch the
very
attention.
similar to what the current one looks like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we take a lot of the design inspiration from the very first Indian and Harley motorcycles. So it looked similar, not nearly as beautiful, but
Okay.
it looked, it was a similar style of bike.
I see. That you mentioned that you like racing from the early age.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the behind story about how you start loving racing and cars, muscle cars and motorcycles?
I'm not sure. I think I was just born with it.
You're born with it.
I would think I was born with it. Both my parents, they're not into racing or motorsports or any of those things. And I think just I'd see cars on the street and motorcycles on the street, and I was obsessed with it. So
How about the story, the bedtime story about it?
yeah, so I think I was probably 2 or 3 years old, and I must have been in my dad's car, and I saw a Harley zoom by, and so I begged my dad to go down to the Harley Davidson dealership.
Okay.
So he brought me down there when I was like 3 years old, and I got all the catalogs. And so from that point on, my favorite bedtime stories that my parents would read me were Harley catalogs, Porsche catalogs, all the fun,
that's
cool
where it
vehicles.
started.
And that's where it started. And I just fell in love with it. I had the posters on my wall as a kid, all of it, just completely obsessed.
I can imagine how you as a kid that really obsessed with those muscle car, with the Harley Davidsons, and then you somehow match the beautiful design with the utility that people can use.
Yeah. I think that passion of vintage cars, motorcycles, but also growing up in Silicon Valley and by San Francisco, where technology is always being developed, and that's really kind of how the bikes were born. Was a passion for timeless, beautiful design, and then the best technology in the world, and just what type of vehicle can we marry those two and build it out of.
Yeah. Okay, from this early interview, I can sense that you are really living the dream job that you ever.
Yeah,
Because it's, passion from your early childhood and just go into business.
Yeah, and it's, business is business. There's always difficult things, and it's a lot of hard work. But every once in a while, I'll walk down to our shop. I'll go into the shop on a weekend when it's quiet, and I'll just look around and be like, if 7-year-old Andrew knew what I was doing today, he'd be like, high five. It's my absolute dream. I get to work with people that I love, and I get to meet new people all across the world like yourself. It's just, I have to pinch myself sometimes.
I believe. Okay. Andrew, what makes vintage electric is different from any other e-bike?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. So there's the aesthetic of it.
Of
and
course.
There's still vintage-looking bikes, but really the build quality. We painstakingly go over every nut and bolt and stitch on the leather just to make sure it's as quality a product as we could possibly develop.
Yeah.
And what also goes into that, and what we're really proud of, is the upgradability of the bikes.
Yeah.
As
the upgradability, you mean the speed?
Yeah. So like you look around here, we're in Indonesia, and you see these scooters and motorcycles that have been on the road for a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And I think that as we're developing electric vehicles, this is something we have to be careful about, because there's a lot of electric bikes and electric scooters out there that work very well for 3 or 4 years, and then the technology is obsolete. So what we do as a company is when we develop new technology, we always make sure it's backwards compatible to the very first bikes. So, for example,
so you don't have to buy a new unit.
You don't have to buy a completely new bike.
So plug and play.
We make sure the new technology can be bolted onto our even our very first models.
That's nice.
When we launched our new 72-volt drivetrain, we made sure that drivetrain could be bolted onto bikes from the very beginning. So we brought back 150, 200 bikes from our very first customers, and we upgraded them to all the new technology. So we really want to keep these bikes on the road for a lifetime, like your favorite vintage Harley or your vintage muscle car or your vintage Porsche.
That's very interesting. I'd like to highlight this interesting story. When you started Vintage Electric on early days, that you go around with your first type and you got 35 orders within a night.
Yeah, that first night, like 35, 40 orders. It was more than we knew how to build.
So back then you didn't prepare anything to take those orders, right?
No.
So how did you manage the orders? And you make sure how you make sure that the orders have the same quality as good as the first batch that you created.
Yeah. So I basically got home from that event and called my friends and said, we have to build 40 of these bikes. And we did. We had a little warehouse and we stayed up 12, 13, 14 hours a day building these bikes and delivering them to the customers. And at that time, we didn't have our manufacturing set up the way we do now. So we were drilling these frames, we were welding the frames.
We were
building these bikes completely from the ground up in that little facility in California.
Did you tell your parents back then?
Well, they still thought I was going to college. But I was actually going to that little warehouse instead of going to college.
What did they say about it?
They were very supportive. I was always they were kind of like, what do we do with this kid that loves cars and motorcycles? And so I think when they saw the bikes that I was building, and especially when they saw the orders coming in, they were like, well, this is something. Let's let them run with it. So they've been very supportive pretty much from day one.
I'm so happy to hear that your parents are also supportive, that you're living your dream. That's kind of, not all of us can live that dream.
Yeah. And it looks like a dream from the outside, but it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of tough decisions.
And you managed to make those balance.
Try to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Andrew, there are two types of products that are on the market right now: the throttle bike and the pedal assist.
Yeah.
Why do you consider those type? Why don't you just choose one of them? Or
well, I think it's for us. The throttle bike, we sell to basically people who have always wanted to own a motorcycle, and this is an opportunity to get that motorcycle experience. But then with the pedal assist bike, it brings a lot of exercise, more so exercise and a traditional bicycle experience into the mix. And they're just two different customers that we think we can cater to really well. And some people want more exercise and want a bicycle experience amplified, or some people want a bicycle that can transform into a motorcycle.
Okay, but I think this vintage electric market is very niche market, right?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that there are two type of people who likes the throttle, who likes this, the saddle bike.
Yeah.
How did you start to enter market in Indonesia?
I wasn't
Because
planning.
as you mentioned, there's a lot of motorcycle here. People are not familiar with the e-bike at the first place.
Yeah, so it's not something that I necessarily sought out in the beginning. We just started getting calls from people in Jakarta, and we thought, oh, this is pretty cool. And then we set up a dealer here in I believe 2016.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden we just started shipping more and more bikes here. And then I came over 2016, 2017, and visited, and it was just like, for someone who loves motorcycles, coming to Indonesia is like the coolest thing ever. They're everywhere, and just
they're everywhere.
The culture that you guys have around motorcycles and not having to get into a big car like you do in America.
Yeah.
It was kind of beautiful in a way. Just the way that everybody rides, everybody knows how to ride. It was just so cool.
Okay.
And so and that's how it started.
So I'm wondering, where do you produce this vintage?
We manufacture them in Taiwan.
Not in Indonesia.
We don't build them in Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
We manufacture them in Taiwan.
So you being partnered with the factories back in Taiwan?
In Taiwan, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. From the design, we can see that vintage electric design were very classy, timeless. It's also suitable not only for men but also for women, right? Why do you consider vintage electric to join the classic market? Why do you choose e-bike rather than scooter?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of scooters and there's a lot of motorcycles out on the market, but that ability to still get exercise and get that bicycle experience, but also feel like you're riding a motorcycle is something that a lot of people aren't doing. And so for us and the type of bikes that we build, especially in the United States, electric bikes have just exploded. And have become very popular. It's just a totally different type of vehicle that I love. And coming from my bicycle racing background and then riding motorcycles, it's so cool to have basically two of my favorite vehicles in one.
Okay, now you mentioned that you like to ride a muscle car and then speed motorcycle, and then you turn to e-bike. That actually not really muscle thing. How you switch from, or you just
I mean, I think that there's a difference between recreation and racing and motorsports, and
so you took this e-bike as a recreation.
Yeah, no, I see it as a form of transportation, especially in the United States. So it's how do you take that passion from motorsports and racing and all those kind of fast vehicles that I love, and put it into a tool that you can still get that same exhilaration and fun out of every single day.
I can sense that you're really passionate when you tell me about that. How you mix that passion with the design that you love.
Yeah,
I can feel that. Okay, Andrew, is this your first time coming to Indonesia, especially Jakarta?
No, it's my second time to Jakarta.
Second time. When was the first time?
The first time is 2016.
To bring that vintage electric to
Yeah, we had a
Indonesia?
dealer here, so we shipped bikes out. I came out and showed them how to service and maintain them.
Okay.
And that's kind of how it all started.
And how do you think about the motorcycle? on
I
the
love
road?
it.
Really?
Here,
Yes.
I love it. It's so cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we had enough there. I think there are too much motorcycle in the street.
Yeah, maybe, but I think in the U.S. the problem is everybody goes to their house and then they get in their car and they go to work and then they go back to their house. But the motorcycles and the culture here, and just people stopping off at a cafe and people enjoying restaurants and enjoying a community around them is so cool. Where in the United States, it's very kind of blocked off. You see your family, you see the people you work with, and that's it. But here, it's just, I don't know, it feels a lot more free, a lot more.
So you enjoy your visit here?
I love it.
Oh,
I absolutely love it.
I'm happy to hear. By the way, Indonesia has the biggest motorcycle market in the world, and of course, this market is a very potential for motorcycles, e-motorcycles. Do you have any plan to join the hype?
The e-motorcycle?
Yes.
Build a full-blown motorcycle?
Yeah.
I'd love to one day, but for me, it's that lightweight, easy to use electric bike that gives you the same experience of a motorcycle is really cool to me, and kind of just that a little bit different, a little bit less intimidating, where for me, when I hop on my motorcycle, I want to go fast, I want to go far, I want to get out of the city. But for riding around town, a light electric bike really is a more enjoyable experience than even riding an electric motorcycle around the Bay Area or even around here.
I see. Okay, talking about the existence of vintage electric that has been marketed in Indonesia for a couple of years, 2016.
Yeah.
How did the market respond to vintage electric so far?
So up to this point, the company's been very low production runs. So
how many units?
We've only built 10,000 units total over the lifespan of the company.
And that's sold out.
And everything that we've ever built has completely sold out.
Especially in Indonesia.
Especially in Indonesia.
Oh, that's a pretty nice absorbing market.
Yeah. So for us, the next step here is to bring more bikes over and really push the market and turn it from being just a niche product with a few people to more of a mass market, but still special product here.
That's nice. And I saw the thing that I like about the e-bike, especially the vintage electric, besides the design, I think it's very environmental friendly.
Yeah.
There are no smoke coming out from the the thing like the motorcycle types.
Yeah, and that's it.
What inspires you?
I think that I grew up in nature and camping and being outdoors. A lot of my family are farmers and ranchers from back in California, and so I've always had a love for nature and taking care of the environment. But that's always kind of gone against a little bit of my love of motorsport and things that go fast, right?
Yeah.
So kind of the approach that we've taken is let's give people an option that's environmentally friendly to get around and do day-to-day activities, go down the 3 blocks to the grocery store, that sort of thing. And then, basically, give them an alternative. So they're not, especially in the US, everybody drives an SUV the size of your buses here. Just one person just to go down to the grocery store.
Yeah.
So for us, it's how do we get those people out of these big cars and trucks and onto something fun, enjoying their own community.
Andrew, thank you. It's a very interesting, very quick interview.
Yeah.
I hope to meet you next time.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I hope you have great success with the e-bike travel bike here.
We'll try.
See you.
Thank you.
Baiklah teman kumparan, itu dia wawancara singkat kami dengan Andrew, CEO Vintage Electric. Sampai ketemu di wawancara kumparan berikutnya. Jangan lupa like, comment, dan subscribe. Bye!